shares of Home Depot also among that list after reporting same-store sales falling 3.5% from a year ago. The home improvement company also forecasting full-year sales to grow about 1% in 2024. That's falling short of the street's expectations. Brian Nagel, who is the Oppenheimer Managing Director and Senior Analyst, joins us now. Brian, great to grab some time with you here this morning. There were a few things that jumped out to us about what this means for the state of home improvement more broadly here. But as you kind of look across to the forecast that Home Depot is spelling out here as well, what is the signal for what investors should expect from this company?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on your show, as always. Look, to me, this was a very blasé report from Home Depot. We got basically in-line results for the fourth quarter, and then the initial guidance that the company put out there for fiscal 24 was essentially in line as well. Now, I mean, what my clients and I have been talking about today, I mean, these are not normal Home Depot numbers, right? I mean, what you're seeing here is, a weaker trend. This, and I really believe that this is still a very much a post-pandemic type dynamic where so obviously there's dislocations in the housing market, rates are still elevated, and I think we're still suffering to some extent, maybe even a large extent, from a pull forward in demand that occurred in the pandemic. And so as a result of this now, we're basically, if we take what Home Depot said today, we're basically heading now into this second kind of post-pandemic reset year for the company, which is characterized by sub-algorithm growth.
So Brian, break that down even further, just in terms of, given that challenging landscape, what exactly that's going to mean to Home Depot's bottom line, and what necessarily needs to happen in order for a name like Home Depot to regain some of that momentum that it's lost.
Yeah, so look, it's a good question. I mean, Home Depot, as I say a lot, I mean, it's an extraordinarily well-managed company, right? So, I mean, what we're seeing right now is this, more sluggish than normal top-line growth. But, the company's doing a good job managing their margins and expense controls and such. I mean, it's solidly profitable. They generate a ton of cash, right? And there's a lot of levers they're pulling to do that. But to answer probably the more important question, okay, what has to happen here? I mean, in my mind, in order to for Home Depot to regain this momentum, look, I do think we need help on the rate side. This is a rate-impacted retailer. So when we actually start to get lower rates, I know that's debatable when that happens, but I think that will be a positive for the fundamentals of Home Depot. And then secondly, this is what I was talking about before. It's, and this is a little bit of a waiting game. I think we just have to get further away from the pandemic and further away from this pull forward in demand that occurred, and to basically reestablish normal demand dynamics for consumers within this space.
How dramatically do you believe that rate cuts then would change the sentiment of purchasing, would change the entire environment for Home Depot, especially as it relates back to that housing sector?
It's going to be big. I mean, I know that's probably not the most quantifiable answer what I told you, but I mean, look, when we go in, we've seen this historically. As the economy goes into a rate moderating backdrop. But that's a big positive for Home Depot and the home improvement channel. So, because what happens there is you get, right now in my mind, we talk a lot about just the tie, if you will, between housing activity and sales growth or profit growth at Home Depot. But I mean, the point being, I think we have a housing market in the United States that's largely in a state of paralysis. There's just not much happening right now. Lower rates will help to unlock that paralysis and serve as a driver of better sales at Home Depot.
All right, Brian Nagel, always great to get your perspective here, especially on the heels of this earnings report. Home Depot shares off just about 1%. Brian, thank you.